They said I was a clone. That made me flip in the hospital.
That's Jamie Foxx, in a hospital bed, medicated, fighting for his life after a stroke, and the internet was calling him a clone. He survived it.
People on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
Jim Carrey said that on national television, out loud, with cameras rolling, and then he disappeared. And when he came back,
I'm gonna play it for you in a second, but I put, who is this? Because it is definitely not Jim Carrey. The eyes aren't even the same color.
millions of people agreed. But here's what nobody is connecting right now. Jamie Foxx, Jim's oldest co-star, the man who lived through this exact nightmare, just got emotional talking about what happened to Jim. And what he revealed isn't just about clone theories or aging or lighting at a Paris Awards show. It's about what Hollywood does to the people who stop playing by its rules. And Jim Carrey broke every single one of them. Let's go back, way back, because this story doesn't start in Paris in February 2026. It doesn't start with a Lifetime Achievement Award or a French speech or viral side-by-side comparisons flooding your TikTok. It starts in 1991, Fox Television, a sketch comedy show called In Living Color. Two complete unknowns end up on the same soundstage, and nobody in that building has any idea they're watching the beginning of something that would take 30 years to fully unravel. Jim Carrey had been rejected by Saturday Night Live twice. He almost quit comedy entirely. The man who would go on to become one of the most recognizable faces in movie history almost walked away before anyone ever knew his name. Jamie Foxx, born Eric Bishop, couldn't even get stage time at open mics. He changed his name to a gender-neutral name just so clubs would pick him to perform. Think about that. He had to disguise who he was just to get into a room. Both of them ended up on In Living Color. Same cast, same soundstage, 1991 to 1994. Jim played Fire Marshal Bill, physical comedy, rubber expressions, full-body chaos. His face was literally his weapon. Jamie played Wanda, full transformation, blonde wig, exaggerated everything.
Hey, what up? How y'all doing? Lakita, I told you I was gonna be on TV, girl.
Both of them became masters of one specific art form, transformation, becoming someone else so completely that you disappear and only the character remains. Jim the Mask, Ace Ventura, The Grinch, The Truman Show, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Jamie Ray Charles, an Oscar-winning disappearing act so complete that you forgot you were watching a performance. Django, Electro. These men built entire careers on becoming other people. They learned it together, on the same stage, in the same years. Fast forward 30 years, and both men face the exact same accusation from the exact same internet. You've been replaced. But here's the thing. Before we talk about what happened to Jim in Paris, you need to understand what Jamie Foxx went through first. Because Jamie didn't just watch this happen to his old co-star from a safe distance. He lived it in a hospital bed, on heavy medication, with the whole world screaming that he was a clone while he was fighting to stay alive. And what he went through, what it did to him, is the key to understanding everything that happened to Jim Carrey. April 11th, 2023. Jamie Foxx is on a film set in Atlanta. He gets a bad headache, asks someone for Advil, then nothing. Brain bleed, stroke, emergency surgery, 20 days unconscious. When he wakes up, he can barely walk. Wheelchair, confused, dizzy. His family keeps everything completely private. No updates, total silence. And the internet, predictably, horrifically, goes absolutely insane. Jamie Foxx is paralyzed. He's blind. Diddy tried to kill him. He was cloned. Now here is where this story stops being sad and starts being genuinely disturbing. Jamie is in the hospital, sedated, on oxycodone, Dilaudid, and morphine. Heavy medication. And somehow, he sneaks his phone in. He starts reading what the world is saying about him. All of it. The clone theories, the body double accusations, the conspiracy posts getting millions of views while he is lying in a hospital bed barely able to speak. And because of the medication, because his brain is already compromised and vulnerable, he starts to believe it.
When they said I was a clone, that made me flip in the hospital. That's it. These motherfuckers are trying to clone.
Then it gets worse. Still on the medication, still in the hospital, he sees a white version of himself walk into the room.
And I saw me walk into my room, but I'm white, so I see the white me.
He was hallucinating. His medicated brain had grabbed the clone theories it just read and made them real. The internet's fiction became his reality. The next morning, the psychiatrist walks in.
I said, "What's up, Fox?" I said, "I know what's up. You're trying to clone me, motherfucker. I saw the white clone. And I know why you're trying to clone me. You make me white. because I'll sell better overseas and all this other kind of.
The psychiatrist asks if he's all right. Jamie says, "Am I all right or am I all white?" They lowered his medication immediately. That is what internet conspiracy theories did to a man recovering from a stroke. Not entertainment, not content. Real psychological damage to a real human being who was already fighting for his life. And Jamie Foxx never forgot it, which is exactly why when the exact same machine turned its eyes toward Jim Carrey, Jamie didn't stay quiet. May 2025, Jamie is doing press, talking about his recovery, his Netflix special, his comeback, and then he sees the news about Jim Carrey. The Paris footage, the side-by-sides, the viral videos, the eye color debates, the skin texture zoom-ins, the millions of people absolutely convinced that the man who just accepted a Lifetime Achievement Award at the César Awards in France cannot be Jim Carrey. The exact same conspiracy, the exact same accusations, aimed at the guy he shared a soundstage with 30 years ago. And Jamie Foxx, who almost lost his mind believing those same theories about himself while medicated in a hospital, goes to the Daily Mail and says this: "I'm sad, not because people are questioning my appearance. I'm sad that people are stupid. The world I live in has people that believe a 64-year-old man is now apparently a clone." But then comes the quote that almost nobody picked up on. For Jim, this is something he should laugh about. But stupidity like this is not a laughing matter. Read that again. Not a laughing matter. Coming from Jamie Foxx, a comedian, a man who built his entire career on making people laugh, the man who played Wanda, who did stand up for decades. When Jamie Foxx says something is not a laughing matter, he means it in a way that should make you stop and pay attention. Because what Jamie was really saying, what he was feeling when he said it, goes way deeper than defending Jim against clone theories. Jamie Foxx was emotional because he understood something about Jim's situation that the rest of us were missing. Jim Carrey wasn't just aging. He wasn't just getting Botox or a facelift or whatever Dr. Spiegel told Variety. Jim Carrey had spent years breaking Hollywood's rules, out loud, on camera, in front of millions of people. And Jamie Foxx, who survived his own nightmare and came out the other side, could see exactly what was happening to his old co-star. The machine wasn't just mocking Jim, it was punishing him. To understand what Jim did wrong, you have to understand what the rules actually are. And nobody explained those rules better than Mel Gibson in a moment that felt less like an interview and more like a confession from someone who'd already learned the hard way.
Somebody once said my problem was I didn't understand the social contract. Yeah. I now understand what that means.
Yeah.
Do you understand it?
What is the social contract? Mel spells it out.
You can't get mad.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get mad. You can't let it get you, because you have to make a deal with everyone else, and it's almost unspoken that you are going to be fucked over at some point by people who you may have done something nice for.
That's the deal. That's what Hollywood asks of every single person who walks through its doors and gets rich off its machine. You hand over your outrage. You hand over your boundaries. You smile for the camera. You play your assigned role. And in return, they keep the lights on. Jim Carrey understood that deal. And then he decided publicly, repeatedly, defiantly, that he wanted no part of it. It started with the Oscars, the Will Smith slap, the whole world watching. And instead of staying quiet, instead of giving a measured PR-approved response like every other person in that industry, Jim Carrey sits down with Gayle King and says exactly what he thinks.
I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
Hollywood is spineless, en masse, on international television. That's not an accident. That's not a slip of the tongue. That is a man who has genuinely stopped caring what the industry thinks of him. And in a town built entirely on perception, that is one of the most dangerous things you can do. But Jim wasn't done. On Jimmy Kimmel's stage, he walks out flashing a triangle sign, over and over, tongue out, like he's trolling the very people who made him a star. Kimmel plays dumb and asks if it's a gang sign.
Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is. Right?
And then he goes further.
Talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
The audience laughed, Kimmel laughed, everyone treated it like a bit. But a lot of people watching at home and a lot of people inside that industry did not think it was funny at all. Because Jim wasn't just cracking jokes, he was pointing at the curtain in front of millions of people, and he kept doing it. Red carpet interview, reporter asks what's happening in the world. Jim looks straight at her and says, "Here's the thing, it's not our world. None of this is real. We don't matter." Just like that. No punchline, no wink, just stared right at her and said it. And then there was the moment that probably disturbed the industry more than anything else. Jim Carrey, in an interview that circulated widely and quietly, said this.
Jim Carrey is a great character, and I was lucky to get the part. But I don't think of that as me anymore.
You don't? Not at all?
Not really, no. I used to be a guy who was experiencing the world, and now I feel like the world and the universe experiencing a guy.
He called himself a character he was lucky to get the part of. He was publicly dismantling the very product, the very brand that Hollywood had spent decades selling, and he was doing it with a smile. Then came the retirement.
I'm retiring, but
No.
yeah, probably.
Are you being serious or are you screwing with me?
I'm being fairly serious. Yeah.
Really? Why?
It depends. It depends if the angels bring some sort of script that's written in gold ink that says to me that it's going to be really important for people to see. I might continue down the road, but I'm taking a break.
And then the line that sealed it.
I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough.
No comeback tour, no we'll see. Just a flat refusal to keep feeding the machine. Cat Williams had been screaming about exactly this kind of moment for years. The second a star stops playing their assigned role, the second they stop being useful, the industry finds a way to make them disappear.
Everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend, that seems like a setup is.
Everything that happens in a business. Everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend, that seems like a setup, is.
Yes. What I'm saying is, if Jussie Smollett and Lee Daniels for a living make stories that are not real, and they make them so good that people believe them and buy them, and that's what business they're in, why would you think it would be weird if they flipped out and said a story that turned out to not be true?
This business runs on fiction. It is fiction. And when a man starts telling the audience that the fiction is fiction, that the curtain is a curtain, you become the most dangerous person in the building. But here's the part of this story that Jamie Foxx understood when nobody else was connecting the dots. Hollywood doesn't need to physically harm you to destroy you. My tea doesn't need to send anyone to your door. All it needs is the right pressure point. For Jim Carrey, that pressure point already existed. Catriona White, his ex-girlfriend, her overdose, the wrongful death lawsuits, real accusations, fake name prescriptions, emotional mistreatment, responsibility for her death. The cases were eventually dismissed. No criminal conviction, no jury verdict. But that's not the point. And this is exactly what Cat Williams has been warning about for years. You don't need a conviction. You just need the threat.
Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew. Don't have to validate none of their contracts.
The fans who've been following this story the closest spell it out in the darkest possible terms. And it's the part of this conversation that most people are too uncomfortable to say out loud. Once those lawsuits existed, once those headlines existed, the people Cat and Mel talk about suddenly had everything they needed to walk Jim Carrey into a back room, close the door, and present him with a choice he could never talk about publicly. Either you take the fall, we feed the world the story of a fallen icon, or you disappear quietly. You let us keep the Jim Carrey product on the shelf. You come back when we tell you to come back. You smile when we tell you to smile. And we all move on like nothing happened. Now look at what Jim was doing right before his retirement, calling them spineless, mocking their symbols on late-night television, telling millions of fans that the hosts they trust are in on something they'll never admit, saying red carpets are meaningless, saying awards are meaningless, treating the entire Hollywood machine like a bad joke he'd finally decided to stop laughing at. And then right after all of that, the lawsuits hit. And then right after that, he goes quiet. And then right after that, he comes back in France. Heavier, slower, softer. A polite smile that never quite reaches his eyes. The famous unpredictable spark, the rubber face, the physical chaos, the energy that made him Jim Carrey turned all the way down. Cat Williams described this pattern precisely. Dave Chappelle walks away from a 9-figure deal and gets labeled crazy. Cat himself starts talking about rituals and powerful deviance, and suddenly he's the punchline. Shia LaBeouf leans into to faith and trauma, and the only stories pushed to the top are his arrests and meltdowns. Step out of line, get turned into a cautionary tale. The script is always the same. This is why Jamie Foxx's response wasn't just support. It wasn't just a celebrity defending a colleague. It was recognition. The recognition of someone who understands the exact trap Jim is stuck in because he spent time in a version of it himself. Jamie's trap was physical. A brain bleed, a coma, a body that stopped working. And while he was down, the internet decided he wasn't real anymore, that he'd been replaced, that the Jamie Foxx who came back wasn't the same one who went in. Jim's trap is different. Jim's trap is the silence. Because think about what Jim's options actually are right now. If he comes out and directly denies the clone theories, the internet says the clone is just trying to convince everyone it's real. If he stays silent, the internet says, see, he can't deny it because it's true. It is a trap with no exit. Jamie Foxx knows this. He survived his version of it, and his way out was to speak. Netflix special, interviews, walk into the room and physically prove you're alive. He said, you're looking at a man who is thankful. It's been an unexpected dark journey, but I can see the light. And when Jamie looks at that silence, when Jamie, who has been to the bottom and clawed his way back, watches his oldest co-star go completely quiet in the middle of the most vicious public conspiracy of his career, he doesn't just feel sympathy, he feels fear, because Jamie understands something about Jim's silence that most people don't. Jim Carrey, the man who spent years saying none of this is real, I am just a character, I have enough, I am enough, is suddenly playing along. Coming to the ceremony, giving the speech, being photographed with his family, smiling for a room full of the people he once called spineless. That's the line. He finally learned how to play along. And for Jamie Foxx, who knows what it costs a man like Jim Carrey to play along, that's not a relief. That's the most frightening thing in this entire story. Let's sit with the real irony for a moment, because it's almost unbearable once you see it. Jamie Foxx got emotional talking about Jim Carrey because he's not just watching a friend go through something difficult. He's watching the exact sequence he survived play out again with a different man, a different body, a different set of circumstances, but the same machine running the same play. The César Awards organization confirmed everything. 8 months of planning. His daughter Jane was there, his partner, his grandson, 12 close friends. His publicist confirmed it on record. It was Jim. Full stop. Plastic surgeon Dr. Spiegel said the changes were consistent with Botox and possibly a facelift. The man is 64 years old. He aged, but facts don't stop the machine. Jamie Foxx knows that better than anyone. What stops the machine is what Jamie did. You speak. You walk into the room. You look directly into the camera and you prove not with a statement, not with a publicist, not with a fact-check article, but with your presence and your voice and your story that you are still here, still real, still the person who built something worth protecting. Jamie Foxx said he can see the light. He said it was an unexpected dark journey. He said it out loud to the world, on camera, and it broke the cycle. Jim Carrey is still in the dark, and the man who loves him most, the man who shared his first stage, who learned the same art form, who went through his own version of this nightmare, is standing outside that darkness and saying, as clearly as he knows how to say it, this is not a laughing matter. So the question this story leaves you with isn't whether the man in Paris was really Jim Carrey. The question is, what did Jim Carrey have to agree to in order to be allowed back in that room? And is the silence we're getting now the sound of a man finally at peace, or the sound of a man who learned the hard way what happens when you stop playing the game? Jamie Foxx knows the answer. And if you watch his face when he talks about it, really watch it, you'll see that whatever he knows, it hurts him. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Jim Carrey should speak the way Jamie did? Or does the silence tell us everything we need to know?